September 25th, 2025. The 414th Attack Drone Brigade spotted 2 Russian soldiers in an open field in the Luhansk region. The soldiers were advancing with fuel cans in their hands. Shortly thereafter, Ukrainian forces launched an FPV drone. The Russian soldiers fired at the attacking drone to shoot it down, but they were unsuccessful. Ukrainian forces had a T-72 tank in their sights. The tank was first hit by a kamikaze drone attack, but the Russian tank made a big mistake and fell into a ditch on the road. Having lost all its mobility and unable to get out of the ditch, the tank now became an easy target. Drone attacks began relentlessly. Several Russian soldiers managed to get out of the tank and escape. However, the other Russian soldiers who couldn't get out of the tank lost their lives in the tank, which was destroyed by successive drone attacks. The Ukrainian Signum Battalion spotted a Russian soldier in a deserted area in the Donetsk region. The soldier was hiding behind a tree to conceal himself from the drone. However, all these attempts to hide were in vain. When the FPV drone found a suitable position, it crashed directly into the soldier. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. September 23rd, 2025. Ukraine's 38th Marine Infantry Brigade targeted a Russian military vehicle carrying ammunition in the Pukhovsk region. As the FPV drone rapidly approached the vehicle, the Russian soldier on top of the vehicle noticed the drone. However, this sudden encounter caused the Russian soldier to panic, and he was unable to respond. Ukrainian forces spotted a Russian soldier advancing on a motorcycle. An FPV drone immediately launched an attack. The Russian soldier crashed and was unable to get up from under the motorcycle, becoming the drone's target. September 22nd, 2025. 4 Russian soldiers were spotted entering an abandoned house in the Kursk region. The 54th Mechanized Brigade attacked the Russian soldiers whose hiding places had been revealed. The building where the soldiers were located was completely destroyed. Russian soldiers traveling in a UAZ vehicle in the Lyman region became the target of an FPV drone. Although the soldiers jumped out of the vehicle at the last moment, they were unable to escape completely. September 25th, 2025. Ukrainian forces have targeted an armored infantry carrier. The vehicle had previously been attacked, and now an FPV drone entered the vehicle and delivered the final blow. Strangely, the vehicle began firing. Most likely, one of the Russian soldiers who died inside the vehicle lost his life while frantically pressing the firing mechanism. After prolonged firing, the shooting finally ceased. All the soldiers inside lost their lives. A Russian BMP-2 vehicle was spotted by Ukraine in the Toretsk region. An FPV drone attack was carried out on the Russian armored vehicle, which was defenseless in an open area. The vehicle was completely disabled. September 24th, 2025. Ukraine's 45th Artillery Brigade destroyed several Russian UGVs in the Siversk region. These were Russian unmanned ground vehicles lying in wait for Ukrainian soldiers. However, the Russian vehicles, whose locations had been identified, were destroyed by an FPV drone attack. The 63rd Separate Mechanized Brigade of Ukraine detected a Russian BMP armored personnel carrier in the countryside of the Toretsk region. The Russian military vehicle was rapidly advancing towards Ukrainian positions. However, they encountered Ukraine's unexpected defense. Faced with mortar fire, the Russian unit was at a loss. They tried to escape the attacks by circling around an empty field. This time, Ukraine took action with an FPV drone and carried out a kamikaze attack. When the Russian armored vehicle sustained heavy damage, the Russian soldiers inside immediately panicked and began to flee. Ukrainian forces delivered a final blow to the Russian military vehicle, completely destroying it. September 25th, 2025. In Crimea, under Russian control, the Ukrainian drone strike unit Primary destroyed 2 Russian An-26 aircraft and also hit a surface radar station and an MR-10 coastal radar. This disrupted the Russian forces' military communication systems. Ukraine's 68th Jager Brigade drone pilots targeted a Russian BMP vehicle. An FPV drone attack was immediately launched against the vehicle, which was mistakenly waiting in open terrain. With the first attack, the drone's high explosives completely disabled the Russian armored vehicle. A Russian military vehicle transporting new soldiers to the front became the target of a fiber optic drone. The soldiers on the vehicle did not notice the drone approaching. Ukraine's 425th Separate Assault Regiment targeted Russian military vehicles in the Kupiansk region with Scarlet FPV drones. Russian military vehicles were rendered inoperable one by one in logistics areas. With the help of thermal vision, Ukrainian forces continued drone attacks every hour. A group of soldiers gathered together were suddenly attacked by a drone. Russian forces suffered heavy losses on their supply routes due to continuous drone attacks. Having suffered significant military losses over the past 2 weeks, Russian forces are gradually weakening on the front lines. The Ukrainian Air Force Command located a building housing a group of 50 Russians. After waiting for the soldiers to gather, a 3,000-kilogram bomb was dropped. The bomb was so powerful that the entire building was completely destroyed. None of the Russian soldiers inside the building managed to escape. Another image showing that the bomb dropped by the MiG-21 fighter jet destroyed the entire building. It was determined that the building where Russian soldiers were located was also used as a command center. Russian soldiers on motorcycles were shot down by a Ukrainian drone before they could understand what was happening. The Ukrainian Police Special Operations Unit, KD, continued to strike Russian forces in the Kharkiv region. Vehicles hidden in positions and military vehicles advancing along the road were destroyed one by one. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. Ukrainian forces bombed a tower where Russian soldiers were hiding. The tower was completely destroyed by the bomb dropped by a drone. Russian soldiers are trying to hide by taking cover in many abandoned structures and buildings like this one on the front lines. The situation of Russian soldiers is completely abandoned on the front lines. This time, the footage belongs to Russian soldiers. It shows how Russian soldiers are struggling against Ukrainian drones on the front lines. An advancing Russian military group encounters a drone attack. Panicked, the crowd of Russian soldiers doesn't know what to do. They start to scatter, but Ukraine's relentless drone attacks continue. They abandon their motorcycles and run into an open field, but the drones keep pursuing them. Here's how Russian soldiers are in such a difficult situation on the Ukrainian front. Russian forces continue to lose a large number of soldiers and are gradually weakening. September 24th, 2025. Ukraine's 429th Unmanned Systems Regiment carried out an operation to drive Russian soldiers hiding in the Luhansk region out of the area. Drones dropped bombs on Russian soldiers positioned in abandoned houses. High explosive bombs leveled the buildings where the Russian soldiers were located. The drone attack, which lasted approximately 2 hours, destroyed 6 houses where Russian soldiers were hiding. But it didn't stop there. Russian soldiers who were unable to respond to the attacks lost their lives, while those who managed to escape decided to surrender. Ukrainian forces agreed to take Russian soldiers who wanted to surrender unarmed as prisoners. September 22nd, 2025. The Ukrainian Falcon Unit Border Guard Brigade began clearing Russian trenches, positions, and shelters. Russian underground positions were completely defenseless against FPV drones. Drones easily entered the amateurishly constructed Russian positions and destroyed them one by one. While numerous Russian trenches were destroyed, nearly 20 Russian soldiers lost their lives. As of September 25, 2025, the war between Ukraine and Russia has become a grinding battle of attrition, dominated by drones and precision strikes. On the front lines, especially around Luhansk, Donetsk, Kursk, Kupiansk, Toretsk, and Pukhovsk, FPV kamikaze drones and fiber-optic-controlled UAVs are shaping the battlefield. These drones are used to hit supply convoys, armored vehicles, artillery positions, and even individual soldiers caught in trenches or moving across open ground. Ukrainian forces have intensified drone attacks on logistics routes, fuel convoys, and ammunition trucks, making it harder for Russian units to resupply at the front. Russian BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles, T-72 tanks, MLRS launchers, and artillery systems have been destroyed in repeated drone and missile strikes. FGM-148 javelins and other anti-armor systems remain effective, but drones are now the most decisive weapon on both sides. The result is a stalemate defined by technology. Precision, FPV strikes, kamikaze drone ambushes, constant artillery fire, and attacks on logistics hubs. Russia has gained some ground in recent weeks, but its advances are limited and costly. Ukraine, meanwhile, is leveraging drones and precision weapons to slow the Russian offensive and stretch its supply lines.